file your taxes and you get money back. Because you know, if you owe somebody money or somebody need money of yours, you ain't getting nothing back. You ain't getting nothing back. I don't believe in the deficit thing. I think it's just a ploy to get people to vote a certain way, whatever. You know, and I've been talking to people about this deficit thing, and people are hard on this, and it's just something to make the normal people who don't understand or who not in the circle of what goes on in the government, to have them think a certain way. If as a person, as whatever, if you owe a credit card, Citibank, if you owe Citibank money, will Citibank let you go in a deficit? No, they're not. And it's no different with the federal government. There's no way you can have a deficit. And I was talking to a guy this week. I said, think about it. Bill Clinton balanced the budget and he had a surplus. How did he do it? How did he do it? There's no such thing as a government deficit. The government is not in the business to make money. The government is in the business to help people prosper, no matter what level you on. That's what they do. That's what the government's there for, to make sure people are able to gain prosperity. Now, they also talk about this Social Security thing. And Social Security is never going to go broke. Everybody on here right now has a savings account. Yeah. If you are putting in that savings account, even if you take something out and you put back in, you're going to always have money in that savings account. And even with Social Security, you get a check from Social Security, you still pay taxes on that. How can something go broke and it's constantly getting money?
You asked two very good questions, and one of them, I'll start with Social Security first. Social Security is like you paying New York Life for insurance policy.
Yes.
So you pay into that. And the way Social Security operates is that if you work, you pay 6% of your money and your employer adds 6%.
Yes.
Up until a certain point. And that money goes into the Social Security Trust Fund. Whatever the Social Security doesn't pay out in benefits is in a trust fund that's available for the federal government to borrow from. And the federal government borrows from that trust fund. In fact, the federal government owes the Social Security Trust Fund about $2.9 trillion right now. Did you hear what I said? $2.9 trillion. And I've been arguing for years that they've been faking the American public out so that they can steal the money. They presented the Social Security problem to the public as if it comes out of the income tax that's collected. Like this is part of income tax collected, and Social Security is a big chunk of that. Now, I first had an argument with that back in 1975 at Clark Air Base in the Philippines when I was a captain. I just come out of Texas. When I was in social actions, I was taking a race relation course in the Philippines. There was this major in there talking about we have to cut out Social Security and Medicare because it's costing our government too much. And I argued with the man, and I told him, if you want to save money, then reduce the defense budget. The United States spends more on defense than the next 11 highest nations that spend on defense combined. Here we spend more than Russia and China combined, and we say we have to build more so we can fight them. How can they get more for their buck than we can get for ours? But that's a different story.
Mhm.
The real thing is that one of the things I got a copy of because what you said, Bobby, has affected me so much. Sitting here on my desk is a copy of the latest Social Security Trust Fund report.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at that because I've been on this for years, that they need to tell American people the truth. You paid tax into an insurance fund. Now, certain things they can do. One of the things that Obama did that I was against, when the disability fund was running out of money, he took money from the old age survivors fund and put that in the disability fund. And that was to keep white folks in Kentucky and West Virginia and Southwest Virginia satisfied, because you could go through there and you see there are towns in that area where 75% of the people are on Social Security disability. So the disability fund ran out. My attitude was, it ran out of money, let Congress deal with that. But no, good old Obama, he took money from the old, but it may not have had that much great effect. The other thing that the Congress tries to do, the Congress is trying to, it used to be if the Congress took money from the trust fund, they had to tack on 3% interest. It was 3% interest to the money that was owed. But I think they've passed a law where they don't have to pay interest on the money that you take from the trust fund to use in the general fund. They just have to pay it back. Now, I'm not sure because I don't keep that close on it.
Mhm.
The real thing is that Social Security does not take any money from it doesn't require any money from the income tax money to be spent to pay out benefits to Social Security.
Right.
So Social Security in and of itself is a self-functioning tax.
Yes.
And the other thing is it has the lowest administrative cost of any government program administered. That's Social Security. You're absolutely right. Governments give out service.
Mm-hmm.
They're not in the business of making profit. And I think it's hypocritical to ask Social Security to make a profit, Medicare to make a profit, but you ain't never asked the fire department or the police department to make a profit.
Yes.
You've never asked the farmers to make a profit.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest welfare systems in America is farm subsidies. And black people have not benefited from those. Black farmers haven't benefited from farm subsidies as much as whites have. But so when it comes to deficit, what we're really talking about deficit is what the federal government takes in income tax money, all the tax money they take in, including Social Security, which they're stealing from that to use it, if they don't pay it back. And then what they pay out, that's the deficit. So it's like like me, I get $200 this month, but I spend $600. I got
Mm-hmm.
a $400 deficit.
Mhm.
And the real question is, how long can you do that? I can tell you what Franklin Roosevelt told the American public. He said, don't worry about the national debt. You owe it to yourselves. That's what Roosevelt said. Yeah, that's one of the reasons that Trump wanted to get rid of the debt limit. You remember he wanted to get rid of the debt limit. They wouldn't let him. This is just recent.
Right.
One of the reasons he wanted to do that was so he could give that big tax break to the billionaires.
Mm-hmm.
But since they didn't let him do it with the debt limit, he's going to
He's
do
trying
it.
to do that though, but he's
He
trying to do it through other means.
There you go.
Oh,
There
yeah.
you go, Joseph.
But
I'm finished.
But that's my whole thing, and because the American, I'm gonna say population, I ain't gonna say public. The American population really doesn't understand how the government works. Right. And one of the biggest things, and I've been talking to people here lately, especially about this Social Security thing. The government's not in a position to make money. That's number one. Number two, the only savings account in the government is Social Security. If we got 480 million people in the United States, over 300 million of them pay into Social Security. How in the heck is it going to go broke?
No.
How is it going to go broke? And you constantly, you got people that get paid weekly. You got people that get paid bi-weekly. You got people that get paid monthly. There is no way that savings account can go broke. And then if you pull something out of that savings account, you still have to pay taxes on it. That's that blow away to send people to a point where, oh my God, my kids aren't going to have Social Security. There's no way in the world. If Social Security is there to do what it's supposed to do, it's never going to run out of money. Because if you have a savings account and you constantly put money in it, you never going to go broke.
Bobby, that money that you pay taxes on from Social Security, quote unquote, does not go into the Social Security fund.
No,
it goes into the income tax fund,
right,
which, like Bill just said, is supposedly be two separate pots.
No, right. And what I'm saying is, okay, and you 100% right. What I'm saying is, so if you paying taxes on that, there's no way you should have to mess with Social Security, because I'm still paying taxes into that to make, as he said, to fund the military, to fund whatever else. I'm still paying taxes into that. Now I'm also paying this money into the Social Security. So my money is going like this. There's no way that account should go broke. But it goes broke because they are using it in a way it wasn't put out there to be used.
Bobby, they stealing it, just like Bill said.
Yes, I understand that.
They're stealing that money out of there.
It is you have to understand, Republicans have wanted Social Security to fail ever since 1935 when it was instituted.
Yep.
Social Security was first instituted. There were groups of people that were excluded from it, which were farm workers and domestics, which meant that most Black people were not eligible. The other thing about Social Security, you couldn't, when it was started in 35, you couldn't collect Social Security until you were 65. The average lifespan of America back there in 1935 when it started was 48 years, which means they was building up reserves before anybody could ever collect. But here's the kicker. What all of us need to do is educate people wherever we come into about what Social Security really is. And there's one thing that there's an insurance premium. There's an insurance thing that's run by the federal government. You don't hear nothing talked about.
Exactly.
Which may have liabilities greater than Social Security. You want to know what that is?
What is it?
It's called the Pension Benefit Guarantee Corporation.
Yeah. And they're trying to cut them out.
It's designed to save corporations that don't see corporations have these pension plans.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the government doesn't, there's only one organization that I know that's forced to fully fund its pension plan every year. And you know what that is? The U.S. Postal Service. Other than that, all these private companies, they can put in 10%, 15% of what they think their retirement revenue is going to be, what they're going to have to pay out in pensions. And if they go bankrupt, the Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation comes in and pays their pensions to their retirees, to the people who deserve it. Now, you don't hear nobody talking about that. But you know who that will let off the hook? That will let
The corporation.
Tesla off the hook.
Yeah.
If Tesla fails.
And that's exactly, to add on to what you're saying, Bill, the organizations, they're trying to do away with pensions because they know that what they're doing is with Social Security, they're saying that, hey, if we can they can do the old Bill Clinton thing. And you know, Bob opened up with that about Bill Clinton. How did he do it and have a surplus the way he did? He had that because he went in and cut all these programs. He cut all those entitlement programs, like Social Security.
Joe, let's don't call one of the problems with Social Security is we call it
Yeah. But okay, I understand where you're coming from, Bill. But
please
you
don't
know,
call it that.
that's the way they look at it. They look at it like that. And they have other people thinking that same thing, that it's an entitlement program. It's not an entitlement program. We pay into that. That's our money.
And that's my entire point, y'all. If I pay into, and that's why I say a savings account, because if I put money into a savings account, you damn right I'm entitled to it because it's mine. It's mine.
Okay.
Because I pay into it.
I got you. But what I'm saying is that what Bill Clinton did,
that's my money.
Let me get back to that. Let me get back to that, Bob.
Okay.
What Bill Clinton did was cut welfare checks out. He cut them out. He cut out some of the other programs that people were getting, the misinfortunate people that were running into hard times. He cut a lot of those programs out. That's how he came to be. And see, that's why they're saying that what they're doing now is similar to what Clinton did, because that's how Clinton got that surplus, and he had money they had that money to do other things with, because they were taking the money from other sources. They were laying off all these people, and they was making government smaller, which that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make government smaller. They got so many people. They just today they just did away with the education department. 1,300 people put on the chopping block. They're no longer in the IRS system right now. They're not paying them because they're not going to be getting a check because they're not involved in it. So that's where things are.
We are.
Joe, let's not talk about Bill Clinton, because Bill Clinton came.
Well,
let me just finish.
Bill Clinton did a deficit. That's why I said that.
Yeah, I know Bill Clinton did that, but stuff happened even before Bill Clinton.
Oh yeah, sure.
It
all
and stuff has happened since then. Bill Clinton, the real question I look at Clinton, was it better to elect Clinton or keep George H.W. Bush in office, the man who put Clarence Thomas on the Supreme Court? Mm. What I would share with all of us is that what Bobby said, governments provide services, and those services are not profit making. And the only thing about the service is, is it effectively given? Let's just take the VA, where they're cutting out people in the VA. If it takes you 2 years to get a claim, the VA is not providing an effective service.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If it takes you 2 years to get a small business loan, the Small Business Administration is not operating effectively. And so the question is, how can you make it operate more effectively, which would be more people? So a lot of the stuff that's going on is really designed to put take away from people and give to other people.
And it's pretty much because I don't believe in middle class, and I never have, and I never will, because if you got to get up every morning at 7:30 in the morning and go somewhere to 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you're not middle class. You're working class. It's only two classes. You got the rich and you got the working class, and everybody else is work. But what we do is we go to work every day to make other people rich, because they're the ones who get the benefits of everything. Some of us slide through the thing and make it, but the bulk of us are out there working, and we're living day to day, check to check, to make it all right for our families or whatever.
I agree.
You know, so when they talk about, oh, well, the middle class this and the middle class that, I don't care if you make $400,000 a year. If you still got to go to work and get that, you still working class. See, Elon Musk ain't got to go to work. He can tell them, look, I'm gonna be out of pocket for the next 45 days, but he's still gonna get money. I can't do that. If you make $400,000 a year, you can't do that, because you got to be there in order to get your money, in order to make money, in order to live. He ain't got to do that. And this is the thing that the people who voted for Donald Trump don't understand. And here's a caveat, because I tell people they want to, these people who voted for him want to talk about how tough he is on other countries and this, that, and the other. Well, I'm from New Jersey. And see, when the casinos went up in the 70s, in the late 70s, right? Donald Trump wasn't down there. Because if he had told them mafia boys, Little Nicky and all them in the late 70s, that he wasn't gonna pay them to get their trash or to bring them windows or to clean them floors, he'd have been, you know, those windmills he talk about that give you cancer. Well, he'd have been in the concrete of one of them, and they still swinging.
Right.
Because at that point, them boys ain't had time to play. Donald Trump came to Atlantic City in the 90s after the casinos started going down a little bit, and he brought it. I ain't gonna even say he bought. He got a couple buildings, right, and he transformed it, whatever. But he left them people down there strapped for cash.
But well,
they still trying to get back.
Well, Donald Trump, one of the things that bothers me about him is people talk about him being a good businessman.
Right.
Now, here's a man, 6 bankruptcies, running a casino. If I held a rent party, lost money, y'all would say I'm the dumbest jerk in the world. Even Chester's laughing when I said that. If you hold a rent party and go broke, what kind of businessman are you? You ain't no damn businessman. And that's straight out of the hood. Because the house always wins at the casino, right?
All the time.
That's right.
What'd you say, Bobby? All the trouble.
All the time. But that's my point. Like these people don't know, because see, and going back to the stuff we talking about with the jobs being cut and all that. So we already know that most of your government offices are either in your largest cities or the capitals of your states, right? So now, if I live in Bumjack, West Virginia, and I got to drive 2 hours to a government office let's just use the VA because we all military. I got to drive 2 hours to a VA office where it took me 45 minutes to get work done before they cut all these jobs. Now it's only 3 people working in that office. So now I drive 2 hours. Now I gotta sit in there 2.5 hours to get 30 minutes of work done. So now that's 3 hours. Now I still got to drive 2 hours back home. That's a job. That's a damn 8-hour day. But these jokers don't understand, and the people who voted for him don't understand that because they don't have to live that life. A lot of them don't. But now they're seeing that, yes, I do live that life. Well, that's the life that I live because here I am. I can't get I'm a veteran. I'm on crutches. I'm on walkers. I'm Agent Orange, whatever the case may be. Now I can't get nothing done because it's only 3 people in the office or the office is closed. So now I got to leave West Virginia. I got to drive to Tennessee to get stuff done. This is the reality of what's going on. And these people who voted for him, now they starting to understand and starting to suffer a little bit like we have for 400 years plus. Mm-hmm. But they not gonna be able to handle it like we handle it. You know, when they talk about, you know, pull your bootstrap, pull your boots up and all that and move on, we've been doing that for 400 plus years. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's even worse for us. I argue. I used to get mad when I would hear Obama talk that. I say, because most of my ancestors didn't have no boots.
That was Martin Luther King. He said that a long time ago.
Yeah, buddy.
So he had no shoes, huh?
Hey, that what Joe in Chester told us. Walking down the hot tar road, and Obama's telling them to pull up their bootstraps.
Look, let me say something, man. Being y'all brought that up. What Joe at?
Right here, bro.
Yo, ain't going nowhere. Can't see you, but anyway, look, y'all talking about shoes, and Joe can testify. Now, me and Joe, we come from same place. Joe, we used to get them shoes from you guys probably never heard about the Mammoth Mart. Remember the Mammoth Mart, Joe?
Yeah. The bottom come from up under them jokes.
Look like leather, but they was made of pleather.
And take some tape and tape around them jokers, tape them together, and go on, keep on trucking.
I had some football cleats.
Hey.
I had some football cleats I take together.
They supposed to been leather. They probably lasted one game.
Hey, Colonel,
why y'all bullshitting? Okay.
Hey, Colonel, I knew he's gonna be started.
No, I'm just keeping it real, man.
Yeah, he telling the truth.
Look.
Hey, Joe.
Huh?
Hey, on a serious note, you know how many of them stories I heard when we had snow days on base?
Well,
when we was locked in the office, we couldn't go nowhere. And just to get to telling them stories.
I hope you learned something from them.
Bro.
Because I still tell them that my grandsons right now today. So they need to know. They need to know the travels, man. The struggles. Hey, look, when they say, you hear some old folks say they come up on the rough side of the mountain. Dog, it wasn't nothing but cliffs and hangovers. And if I was to write a book, the name of it would be Climbing Hills, because I've been climbing hills all my damn life, you know. So
hey, me too, bro.
Mac, he's sitting there. Mac ain't saying, and Mac and I, well, you say me, Mac, and Joe.
Mac came
up from the same county.
Mac, I don't know Mac, but Mac came up with a silver spoon in his mouth.
Mac.
We didn't have no damn spoons.
Max, his daddy was a sharecropper.
Mac said he ain't had no spoons.
Mac, hey Mac, tell him what a sharecropper is. I'm quite sure they know, but let them hear it out of your mouth, man. Tell them, Mac.
No. That's where you you work the crop, and the man that owns the land gets half of everything. You pay all the fertilizer, all the seed, and he loans you money, and you pay him interest at. So you ain't never gonna get out of the hole.
Yeah. And look, I guarantee you, probably that, and I know Joe ain't never went through this. The only two people on this line right now that's ever smelled a mule fart is me and Mac.
That ain't true. That's not true. That's not true. Yes.
Come on,
Bill. You
come
smell
on,
one?
Bill. You know nothing about that, man. You raised in Washington
look,
D.C. They ain't had no farm in Washington
Have
D.C.
you ever heard of Caswell County, North Carolina?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of Milton, North Carolina?
Yeah.
I worked on a tobacco farm one summer in Milton, North Carolina.
Oh,
One summer.
One
I
summer.
wasn't going back no more. I ain't crazy.
One summer.
That was enough for me, man. I went back into the telegram.
One summer.
Look
here.
Hey, Colonel, I hear you.
I was always in the field, bro. I didn't never get a chance to get behind no daggone no plow or no
mule. Well, when you planting that tobacco, man, you know, and you busting them roads, you know, they
had their choice ones.
Can you imagine a guy my size? Now, right now, I done shrunk an inch. I'm 5'5" right now. Can you imagine a guy like me weighing about 100 pounds, walking behind a mule with a plow?
Yeah.
Busting a road.
That he can't imagine.
You better get out there and do it.
And look, and
all
that
day
plow,
long.
And that plow hooking in one of them old big thick roots, you can't hold it.
All day long.
Tell him, Mac.
Yeah.
All day long.
Hey, y'all went back way back.
Hey,
I'm just trying to prove a point. That's all. That's all.
Those young guys on there, they be like, "What you talking about, man?"
But Joe, you know nothing about that, man. You from New York, man. You know nothing about that.
I was hey, look, I was heisting the back of at an early age, bro. In them bonds, man. They pull it whole stock of back up in North Carolina.
I can remember when Clarence Hicks roof blew off his bond. You know, when you put that back in the bond, if you don't let it vent right, steam will build up there and blow off the bond, and the bond catch on fire. Clarence Hicks cow, it used to give 6 quarts a day. Stop giving milk for 6 months.
Well, wait a minute, guys. I want y'all to know something.
We couldn't put out the fire. We couldn't put out the fire. So you know what we did? We got some 45s and some hot dogs, and we had a weenie roast all day.
What you saying back?
That was in Milton, North Carolina, man.
You see, y'all talk about that mule, but you remember setting tobacco? You got to tote water.
That's
and
right.
You got to tote fertilizer. You got to tote seeds. I don't mean no automated. It's just I'm talking about this. I remember we had a pig. Okay, you go out there, you got to peg a hole and put and you got to tote some water to give it a little man.
That's right. Tell them, Mac. Tell them.
And you
don't know about no hard work, man.
You had no shoes on.
No shoes.
Hey,
Colonel.
No
shirt either.
That's why I only went one summer, man.
Hey, Colonel, I'm with you. Listen.
I went out there every summer trying to get some school clothes.
When that recruiter came to my high school and he said, "You can go," shit, he didn't have to tell me. He didn't have to lie to me. All he had to say was, "I can get you out of here. I'm gone."
You left your old man high and dry, Mac.
No. Look, my final year, I had a acre of tobacco, crop tobacco. Okay, so I'm a sharecropper. I'm technically a sharecropper. I think when that year was done, and I think I made $43 for the year's work. Okay, I told my daddy then, "You put a number in the ground if you want to. I ain't gonna be here. I don't know where I'm going, but I will not be here."
But see, that's the same thing with Chester. Chester left me in 75, right, Chester?
I had to go, dog.
And you left me. And in 76, when I graduated, I had my bag packed, ready to go. My aunt said, "Where you going?" I said, I already done signed up for the military. I'm going. I'm going. I gotta get out of Henderson, boy.
Hey,
I had to go, man.
I had to get out of North Carolina for a while.
Hey, like I said, I'm like Colonel. We had friends of the family that had a farm.
Mm-hmm.
So, my mom like, listen, you gotta go out there and make some money and something. We go out on the farm. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. First, that was too early for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So we out there, and it's old black farm. So ain't no damn tractors and shit down there. You gotta get that hoe. Right? You out that bug out there. So we picking tomatoes, right?
You doing slave? You actually doing slave work?
Listen,
Slave
I
work.
work one
Picking cotton.
look, I worked 1 week. They gave me my envelope at the end of the week, right? I told my mom, I said, listen, I'm going to college, right? Because this ain't it right here. I ain't go back after that. I know, buddy.
Thought you listen.
Hey, listen, sun up to sundown? No, we ain't doing that. Hey, what you say you got, Mac? $43 for the year?
$43.
Well, I made a little
For the
more.
whole year.
I made 70.
For the whole year, brother.
I
For
made
the whole
70.
year.
Yeah, I made 70.
A day's work.
I think I made about 70 for the week. I was good. No, I ain't going back. I told him, look, I went to school the next year. See, my grades was perfect.
But you gotta know what I did to get spend the money in school. I drove a school bus. I got $29 a month for driving a school bus.
Mm-hmm.
That was back when students in North Carolina, students could drive school buses.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. $29 a month.
I met a cat in the Air Force. Told me he drives school bus. Hold up, man. You younger than me. How you drive a school bus? He said, get your license. You drive a school bus.
I drove about
and drive
2 years, dog. $96 a month.
Take it home.
Damn, you got $96?
You see, you give them a time frame now, Mac. That was back in the early 70s.
Man.
But look, I drive that bus. Then I hit
63, 64.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know it was hard.
How much you get, Chester?
About $96 a month.
Well, I ain't giving $92 a month when I was enlisted in the Air Force.
No. I said I was driving school bus. That was at 16 years old. I was driving school bus.
Well, I was an adult man. I was happy to get my $92 a month. Pay call.
And Ron, you ain't saying nothing. I said that's a Stone City boy right there.
Yeah.
Ron Price. Turn your mic on, Ron, and talk to us.
When I got in the Air Force, I got that little check. I had the chow hall. Man, I was in hog heaven. You hear me?
So you was eating good and you had money.
Yeah, I was in hog heaven.
Yeah, that was my downfall. Not downfall, but what I'm saying. When I went in, I ain't had no driver license, and they put me in a tank. They put me in a tank battalion, and I didn't have no license. So the next stop for me was for 11 Bravo in the woods. Mac may know what I'm talking about, in the woods out there. Old infantryman.
Mac Air Force.
Oh, I'm Air Force. Air Force with me.
You the only armor guy on the ground pounder, man.
Don't fly by me, man. I'm just waving.
I tried to tell you, man. Tried to tell you, Joe.
I was so busy trying to get up out of there, man. I didn't even look. I don't even know what went outside the papers. I was just trying to get out of this Ku Klux Klan town, man.
Ron, talk to us, man. Where you from, Ron?
I was born in New Orleans.
Okay.
And then I when I was 12 years old, I moved to Long Island.
Wow.
And I can tell you, everything that you was talking about, I was near it, but I didn't do it. And the thing about it, I said to myself, I only joined the Air Force because I couldn't take Ronald Reagan messing up all the jobs back in. So all this shit that's happening right now, Reagan did the same thing.
Yeah.
Especially with the air traffic controllers and trying to take people's job. But the problem, when you guys were talking earlier, for me, a lot of folks in this country just don't have no backbone.
All right.
You know what I mean? Because if you work on the job, I don't know about them, but me, every job that I've worked, I've gone to the depths of researching that job and know what I can and cannot do and what they can and cannot do to me.
Mm-hmm.
And as a federal employee, the federal system is a merit-based system by statute. So it's the law, right? So they have to generate fictitious performance reports in order to fire you. They can't fire people. See, people hear the word fire and it's like, you're not fired. They sending these people these emails and all kinds of other shit. It's not even signed, bro.
Mm-hmm.
And they're waiting for you to leave your job is what's happening. And I'm of the mindset, I said, shit, they got to escort me out the building.
Mm-hmm.
Come get me. You know what I mean?
And Ron, not to cut you off, but you remember, I don't know if it was a male or female that they told she was fired.
Was a sister,
they had to drag her out.
Yeah.
That
she just got her job back, labor relations.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, and I'm with you, Ron. And I tell people, like, it's a scale. You got a column here and a column here, and you got to meet everything. You got a column that go down, a column go across. Everybody make the same money to a point. Now it becomes, oh, how long you been in the job, how long you been in government, and your step promotions and all that stuff.
Right.
Your locality pay, all that stuff comes into play, right? These people don't understand how this thing works. And when I say these people, I'm talking about Trump and Musk.
Right.
It's not like a Fortune 500 company.
No.
That's not the government.
No.
You can't walk in the government and make $200,000.
But you know,
you can't do it.
But he's paying people like that because he's going outside the pay grade. The people are reacting to him. What the president said, all those people that he's hiring, they're not making what the regular federal workers make. They making over $200,000 a year.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And they brand new to government. But the thing that people, you know, we've seen this movie so many times, and I tell people, I said, you know, think back to when slavery and the master didn't want the slaves to learn how to read.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same shit that's happening right now. They don't want you to know. It's the bottom line. That they're going to line their pockets with these foreign countries that want to get this and that from the United States. So they're going to come like they did at the Trump Hotel, spend a bunch of money. And Trump, you know, Trump like to put other people's money in his pocket. He don't never spend his money, and he don't do his own work. So he always find a sucker to do what he wants done, and then he'll say, "Well, I don't even know that person. I don't know why they was doing it. I didn't tell them to do that."
Right.
And
that's who didn't mean to break in, but that's who Elon Musk is. He's the one going to take the final hit from all of this.
Oh, him and Elon gonna break up. That's coming because Elon is already looking at Trump like Trump is beneath him.
Yes.
Treat Trump like he's beneath him. And Trump too stupid to see that. He don't want to acknowledge it. So when Elon's not around, everything that he co-signed with Elon, he goes the opposite direction. But here's what I like to tell people about what's really going on in this country is that the story that he told to get elected, and I told Bobby talked about this. I said, it's like back in the day when you first discovered girls, right? And you were smelling some little girl, right? What's the first thing you told her when you were trying to get in them little underwears? She's like, no, we can't do that. That's nasty. He's like, well, just let me put the head in.
Oh, wow.
Right? And then
again.
Oh, here we
you put the head in, you're going to get fucked, right? And that's what's happening. They all bought what he was selling. And now, like Bobby was saying, there's so many stupid folks out there thinking because of their race, they deserve to be ahead of other groups of people.
Right.
But when you're a veteran and you live in Tennessee in the hills, in the mountains, or wherever the hell you live, you got to drive 400 miles to go to the VA hospital. and they don't have no doctors, they don't have no therapists, they don't have nothing for you. And then you got to drive them 400 miles back home. You know, you voted for this. It's just like England,
right?
A few years ago when they did Brexit. They was all upset. Yeah, we're gonna vote for Brexit. Never knew what Brexit was. Brexit meant we exited the pound, the sterling pound, and all these other things, you know, trade agreements. And then when Brexit took place, they was like, oh, so we get another vote, right? We're gonna do it all over again. No, this is it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I said the same thing, Ron. I worked in city government down there, man, and I got to see how politics work. And it was no surprise that Donald Trump. It was, I was kind of thrilled that he won because I thought Kamala Harris was going to win that thing. And when the final vote was tallied and everything, those females and a lot of other people were really, they were actually crying real tears, bro. It didn't throw me like that. It didn't take me there to that point because I saw it coming because of the way they broke down that 1965-64 Civil Rights Act.
Right.
How they were going into local governments and just tearing it apart, and just with a surgical tool, as Reverend Barber says, they took a surgical tool and just cut those precincts, in different ways, and that suited them, that suited the Republican Party, and how they went and they put out that voter ID at the last minute. But they put it out before, but they didn't really say that it was going to take effect like that quick.
Right.
And when it came up on a lot of people, they couldn't even get into. They couldn't even get at the last minute. They may have had some discrepancies in there on the voter roll where their address had changed, their phone number had changed, and when they came up to match it up on the voters, they said, "No, you got to go get a whole new ID because you have the wrong stuff on your ID."
Yeah, they did that down in Georgia.
And so they, a lot of black people, a lot of even whites. It's just frustrating to have to go sitting down at the DMV and get another ID and all that stuff. I'm not going back to the polls, and that's what a lot of them said. So we lost millions of votes like that.
Let me drop this bomb on you. So I've been talking to people, and I remember I was in graduate school, and I had wrote a paper on what they're doing now with the ID. So now they passed this law over 10 plus 15 years ago that you're going to have a certain ID card, right? Otherwise, if you don't have this card, real ID is called. If you have a real ID identification or passport starting in May of this year, you're not going to be allowed to go through TSA. You're not going to be allowed to get on Amtrak. You're not going to be allowed to get on the bus.
Is that in effect now?
It's going to be, it starts May of 25.
Yeah, they kicked that can down the road. I think I don't think they're going to kick it anymore.
Oh, yeah, it's going to take effect. They passed a law.
Well,
Ron, the real ID law.
I'm glad you said that because I didn't know about that, and I just got told about it. And you got to go to DMV and get it, right?
Yes.
Hold up, man. Don't you have, if you retired and you have a retired military card, that's real ID.
No.
Yes, it is. It is.
The new ones are. If you have the white one, if you don't have the white one, if you got a green or blue one, no.
Yeah.
If you got that's not the way the law reads. And I know what you're talking about, real ID.
Right.
Yeah.
I look at real ID, it's really something even worse than that.
Oh yeah, so you got to have. See this white card?
Oh yeah, I got one of them.
A lot of retirees don't have this card.
Yeah, it's got to be the one like the cat card, and a lot of people don't have it.
Why they don't have that card? I don't understand that.
I've been telling them don't go to bases.
They don't want to go. They don't want to go.
You got to drive 500 miles to go to a base.
Well, if you have the VA card, if you had a VA card, that'll work too.
So they said they outlawed. So if you go back and you read what it's saying you got to either have a driver's license or ID, and then you got to have a passport. 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 And that's considered real. So the
But
driver's license in
if you
Delaware
whiten,
is
if
got
you
a little
whiten your
star.
card, a weapons card, you can use that.
The what? What'd you say? What'd you say, Mac?
You got a card to carry. What do they call that card?
What's that again?
Well, what I was going to share, gentlemen, is that all of this falls in line with turning us into having us adopt South African apartheid in the United States. Because South Africa, everybody had to have a card that was accepted that showed that they were a part of that country. And coming up with real ID and limiting what you can have means that if you don't have, it's like Ron said, if you don't have that, you can be deported.
Yeah.
Yeah.
ICE agent. They're trying to use that for the ICE agent, for the ICE agency to get you. Yep. I believe. I agree. You know, and he's taking that to court, saying that if you don't have that birth citizenship, that
Birthright.
you don't have real birthrights, saying that you have real birthrights, then you can be deported.
They shot that down.
No,
they put it off, didn't they?
It hadn't gone to the Supreme Court yet.
Yes. But here's another one I'm hearing.
That's constitutional.
Yeah, and I heard this on some stuff where this what'd you just call it, Ron? The real ID thing.
Right.
So if a woman is born and her name is Johnson, and she take on another and she gets married and take her husband's name.
Yeah.
And it's not the same name that's on her birth certificate, then she can't vote.
Oh, that's bullcrap.
So this is one of the things that they putting out there. And this was a white woman that I heard bring this to a congressman. And she said, you know, she was like, it was 89 million women won't be able to vote because they decided to get married and take on their husband's names, and that's not the name on their birth certificate. So that comes down to when you go register or vote, you got to take your birth certificate and all this stuff to be able to register to vote. And if it doesn't match up, then you cannot vote. And this ain't got nothing to do with just black folks or whatever. This is people in the United States, and that's sickening, man. It's sickening.
You know what? But you said that, Bob. But I'm gonna tell you, a lot of it boils down to the African American.
It's all about us.
Yeah, it all comes down to us because of the fact that whenever we get down there, that whenever we go to the polls and vote, we always win. We always win because we have a lot of African American people that vote, and they saw a way to get those numbers down, and they went for it, and that's why it's like that.
That's what Georgia was one of the states that got caught doing that. But what a lot of folks don't realize is in this country, they want it to always be the haves and the have-nots. That's institutional. But getting back to the constitutionality of whether you're a citizen or not, so it was placed into the 14th Amendment because of the Dred Scott decision. Dred Scott was a brother, tried to get, rights for himself and his wife and his two daughters. But that's the reason why they put that blurb in the Constitution, because they wanted the slaves to be recognized as citizens born in the United States. So all these people think that means that that's for the immigrants. No, that's not necessarily for the immigrants. See, they not even up on what is that whole conversation is about. It's about black people and how black folks are treated in the 1800s. But when I do voter registration, and I get disappointed every year because our folks, our women are registered voters. Our men, shit, good luck. And he was like, "Nah, I don't vote because they're gonna do what they want to do and this and that."
Yeah.
And I tried to explain to him, by not voting, you're actually voting for the other side, and anything that's going to happen as a result of that is going to affect you as well. So you're going to be talking about what benefits you don't get, because they all think that all of us are on welfare, and that, you know. And I try to explain to people, I said, do you understand the term majority? The minority can never use the majority of goods. So what they're doing is they're saying the majority of the race, not the population of a particular race. That's how they start, categorize black folk by race. Like, for instance, we walk around and we listen to shit like, "Oh, you are Afro-American." Afro that's not an ethnicity. That was a damn hairstyle. And they had that in every application. You know what I'm saying? It was institutionalized, and nobody stopped that.
And Ron, I add to that, and that's why I say, they talk about systemic racism in this country. We know it's true.
Yes.
But the most racist thing that we have in this country, and I've said it on here before, is the job application. If I'm an American, why in the hell do you have on a job application, what race am I? Because it shouldn't matter what race I am. The only thing that should matter is my qualifications for the job.
That's somebody trying
because
to.
Because once you put on that application that I'm black, that application, because other than the things that were put into place to help me get a job, is now I'm not going to get that job, regardless of how much education I have, how well I've done the job, or whatever. I'm not getting that job because I'm a black man.
But Bob, that's part of it. Your experience also is going to be the reason why you don't. Those two things together. So, as an educated black man, you're applying for a job, and the undereducated white man is reviewing the resume, and he's looking at your resume and saying, "Well, you coming for my job."
That's bias, ain't it?
He ain't never gonna hire you.
Yeah,
that's bias.
He's never gonna hire you.
But that's what, when it's no such thing as systemic racism. What is that?
Yeah,
you can't get more racist than that.
Who?
Oh yeah.
I had a question. I had a question for everybody, and I'm not changing the subject. But what do you think the Democrats are going to do between now and Friday on this bill that's up there?
I'm praying that they'll let the government shut down.
Shut down.
That's what I'm thinking.
Let it shut down.
That's what I'm thinking.
I know. Listen, because the thing is, they're gonna try to blame Democrats anyway. Let it shut down.
That's what I say.
Because
the Republicans got enough people. If they want to pass it, they just don't have. If two or three of them don't vote for it, then they need the Democrats.
Right.
Yes.
But check this out, right?
It actually takes 60 votes.
No. It's not the 50 vote, right?
It's 60.
On that, right? Exactly. It's the majority vote.
And they have 53.
Well, excuse me. It's not a majority vote. It's the 60.
Yeah,
so
it's a 60 vote threshold.
They can't pass nothing, and that's why.
Okay.
That's why. That's the one thing Mitch McConnell didn't do, right? They had the opportunity to change that to a majority vote, but he didn't do that when he was the top dog, because he's like, no, we're not going to do that, because he didn't know what was going to happen in the future.
Right. It's actually called a filibuster, and they put it in place years ago so that one party couldn't dominate. One party couldn't dominate.
Well, the filibuster is a little different. Filibuster is you go in there and you argue for 24 hours about nothing. Like the boy went in there and talked about Dr. Seuss for 24 hours to try to keep something from happening.
Right.
The majority vote is totally different. So in the Senate, out of that 100, it's got to be 60.
Not the filibuster.
Well, that's because Bobby, that's because they changed the simple majority rule to avoid filibuster.
Right.
That's
Right.
why
Exactly. Yes.
To avoid a filibuster.
Right.
And that's why it takes 60 votes.
Right.
There you go.
I wanted to ask Ron what he thinks about shutting down the government, and Chester too.
So, you know, I always tell people also that you remember the Roman Empire? You know what happened to the Roman Empire? Some of the smart people that was being ignored during that time said to themselves, you know what? They're not listening to me. They're going off on these tangents. Let it burn. Burn the whole thing down. Mm-hmm. And that's why the expression you hear sometimes Rome has got to burn. Mm-hmm. In order for everybody to wake up. So when they stop getting their check, in this country, it's a check. When they stop getting their checks, they want to get involved. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But you know, this country is so jacked up with systemic racism. I'm a firm believer that everybody that's a citizen of the United States should do some type of public service at a minimum for a year.
Oh,
so they have a stake.
I was a fan of the draft, but when they did away with the draft, I said everybody should have some type of public service, whether it's the draft.
That's
I don't care, picking up paper on the street, you know, but they should have some public service.
Because you got half the country, 3/4 of the country sitting on the sidelines. Mm-hmm. So the people in the military, that's, you know, they don't understand what the military is all about. You know, they think everybody in the military, oh, y'all make a lot of money, because they see them fools driving around in trucks that they paying $800-900, you know, because they live in the dorm. They think, well, I live in the dorm, I eat in the dining hall, I get an $800-900 truck. You know what I mean? A month. Yeah. But that's not true. So a lot of times when you don't have a stake in the game don't mean nothing to you. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? But the thing, you know, like you guys were saying earlier about Bill Clinton, the only thing that Clinton did with the Republicans, he cut a deal. So they attacked the welfare system. That's when they went to SNAP card and all that other stuff, right? But they also did something, and that's what I'm saying. People in this country are not up on what's happening to them. They did something that I think only happened then. And you know what that is? They created employee identification numbers. So every time you go to a job, you got an employee ID number, right?
Yep.
That number is typed into a database that hit any place where you owe money. Guess where the biggest place it goes? Family court. So you out there, you got babies on your tab that you're not paying for, and family court has got you listed as being a deadbeat dad. You're in the rear. The first thing they're gonna do when you get your first check is take it.
I ain't talking about it, right?
They're gonna garnish it.
All right.
Because now they know where you work.
Yeah.
They're gonna get your job to do that. And that was the biggest sale the Republicans did with Clinton. Mm-hmm. They convinced them of that, and they could balance the budget, which they did. And then Junior gave all the money away. So balancing the budget ain't really a goal. Mm-hmm. The federal government is not a bottom line institution.
Well, it's only an issue when Republicans are running for office.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what Bill with, but as far as shutting the government down, I say shut it down, man.
Yeah.
Shut it down.
It's that time. It's that time.
Hey guys, I went and got me a few grand, put in my safe here at the house. I tell you this, because if they shut it down, I don't get my check for a month or two. Mm-hmm. I need to live.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Listen. I listen to this guy. Y'all ever hear this dude called White George? He goes around and he he does a history. He went to jail. He went to jail, and he talks about it all the time. He went to jail, and he got with a bunch of black guys. He's like, man, you know, he felt like he was better than them. Why am I here with these black guys? But then he started talking to them, and he started learning, right, of why things were the way they were. So he goes around to HBCUs and learns the history of them. So if you ever go on YouTube, his name is White George. And he talks about HBCUs. He gives you the history. And he actually went from one end of the country to the other. And he went to every HBCU he could come into contact with. And the dude give you some real good history, right? And my thing is, why is a white man giving me this history? But it's okay because I'm getting it. But I say that to say because we got to understand that it's so much out there that we are not giving each other. As far as education wise, it doesn't have to be in a book. It just has to be taught.
Right.
By the way, everybody, this is Kim coming on. This is I've been sending her our stuff, so she's been trying to get on. So let her in, Chester, meet her up. Hey, Kim, turn your mic on. Introduce yourself.
Is it on?
Yes, it's on. Introduce yourself.
Oh, good evening. I'm Kimberly Corbin. I'm from New Jersey. How are you?
How you doing, Kimberly?
I'm amazing. How are you?
We see a picture of you, but we'd like to see you live.
Oh, I'll give you a brief view. My hair ain't done.
Oh, Lord, you having a bad hair day, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
It don't matter. I'm having a bad hair day. There you go. Okay. There you go. How you doing?
Oh no, I'm just kidding. You know I was gonna mess with you. But yeah, so I've been sending her our podcast, so she was like, you ain't sent it to me, let me on. So, yeah, so here she is. She's not a veteran.
Well, we're glad to have you. I mean, we've been at it now for like an hour and 15 minutes. I don't like to keep the guys too long, but so you're late, number one. You missed whatever we've talked about.
What was the last item?
Some of it you didn't need to hear anyway.
Right.
For real. Yeah.
Some of it, you ain't need to hear that part.
But I want to ask you guys, Kimberly, we're gonna give you a chance in a minute, but I want to ask you guys a question, and Kimberly, you can come in on this too. I don't know where Bill went, but you guys, or you saw Donald Trump's what the hell did he call it? A State of the Union. Now, when Al Green did his thing, my feeling was that every one of those Democrats should have got their asses up and walked out at the same time.
With him. Yep.
Put him out. So I just want to know how you guys feel about, and later, how you feel about that situation.
Well, I watched Reverend Barber.
I did too.
Well,
I sent it to everybody.
Hey, Tess, I'm gonna be honest with you, right?
Who missed it?
Well, I mean, you missed it, but it was on TV. I mean, you saw what happened.
I sent it to the chat, to the group chat too.
Listen, I love the way Al Green handled it, right? Because if, as they say, if you see something, say something. So I'm with that. But I'm not in agreement with all the Democrats walking out. The reason is this. If we walk out, we don't hear everything that needs to be said or everything that's said, right? I love the way he handled it, top to bottom, even saying, hey, whatever punishment I get, I get punished. What I don't like is the way that they described him and put him, but one of the people that described him was one of the ones that was yelling when Joe Biden was speaking. Right. Y'all didn't do the same thing. Y'all didn't the Democrats didn't do that because they said, look, we're not worried about it. Right? Say what you got to say. That's your feeling.
Well, look, Bobby.
Not that the decorum was right.
But look, but you got to look at it though, Bob. Marjorie Taylor Greene did it to Biden.
That's what I'm talking about.
And they didn't do anything to
her and Bogle. Did it.
Right. So, I mean, and then you already know what Donald Trump's going to say. He's a compulsive liar. What more do you need to hear?
Mm-hmm. No, I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. My thing is, and Chester, the reason I say that is because when the rubber hits the road, right? When the rubber hits the road, all of this stuff is gonna come back, and that's what's going to make the change. Because, oh wow, they were, hey, he said what he said, but look, they did it too. All of that's gonna come back. Mm-hmm. It's gonna come back, and it's gonna make a difference.
What do you think, Kim?
All this stuff, Chester, is a part of the big plan that Donald Trump has. He had that state of address. It wasn't even a state of a union, really. It was a state of address. He had that because his numbers were sacking. They're going down. People are seeing. They're opening their eyes now and seeing the lies and stuff and the stuff that he's doing. And so that's why he had that address. He had that for that, to bring that stock market crashing every day. Every day is minus, except for one day. He had one day where he put something in his plan to level out the stock market, because he watches a lot of TV. He even watched January 6th on TV. He was sitting in his office watching it, right, and didn't do nothing about it. They kept telling Mr. President, please go stop those people. He didn't do anything. He it's all a part of his plan. It's all a part of his plan. His assassination was a plan. He didn't get shot at, or anything. It was a part of the plan. He may have got shot at, but it's still, we all are military people. We have shotguns and rifles. Well, not guns, rifles. We have shot them. We know that bullet, if it gets close to your ear, is going to take your whole side of your face off.
Right.
Not just put a little spit, a little pinhole. It's all a part of his plan. So
what do you think, Kim?
What you got, Kim?
Well,
and you don't have to talk about that. This is open mic. You can talk about anything you want, but go ahead. I'm gonna give you a shot now.
I'm not gonna say but so much because my son works with, so I gotta watch my mouth.
You ain't had to say all that. See, if you had said that, wouldn't nobody know.
I'll cut it out. I'll edit it out.
So let me say this, because you said
I will edit it.
You said I could say whatever I choose to say.
Yes, ma'am.
So one of these days, Mr. Bobby is gonna get his behind handed to him in a quick way.
I know that's right.
All of that mouth. But on the other side of it is that I just feel like all of this mess going on in the world is one-sided. They can do what they want to do. But when we do, we're being very disrespectful. And I'm going to leave it there.
Where can I ask you where you from, so we can get to know? Sometimes to know a person, you have to know where they're from. Where are you from?
Woodstown, New Jersey.
Which you born and raised?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can I ask your age range?
53.
Oh.
Hush. 53, not as old as you.
Yeah, Bobby. Not as old as Bobby. Okay.
Yeah, not as old as Bobby.
Okay.
Welcome aboard. But I tell you one thing, when you come on here, we gonna be wide open. We gonna run our mouth. That's one thing we do. We do good on this podcast in running our mouth.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, we like I said, just if you decide to come back again, you can bring someone with you, and if you want, bring a topic that you want to discuss. Be fine, whatever it is. Like I said, it's open mic.
But that was part of the reason. That was part of the reason why I sent him to her, because her son is so he's and Kim, everybody here was in the military, so he is also getting from the civilian side. I'll say he's getting the same thing that we got, as far as the eye openings.
Mm-hmm.
So he's getting it from another aspect,
Mm-hmm.
and for him to work where he's working, it's even deeper, right, to a point, because he's on the front lines
Mm-hmm.
with that BS.
Right.
Right. So that was one of the reasons why I sent her stuff, because I wanted her to hear what we were talking about and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I'm gonna say something. I think as a military guy, we all did things we may have not agreed with.
yes.
Right.
Okay. So, but that's the system. And that's part of when we raise our hand, we're going to do it whether we agree with it or not. Vietnam, I did Vietnam. Doesn't matter where I agree with Vietnam or not, I did it. Okay. I'm sure we got some people that do Iraq, the Middle East. They may not agree with the policy, but hey,
I raised my hand.
You go support that policy. And Kimberly, I've got a cousin that works for this. I've never met him. Okay. He's the son of my first cousin that lives in Flint, Michigan. But I know he works there. I don't know anything about his political views or anything. All I know is, hey, he's doing a job. That's hey, you got to respect a man doing a job. And I use that man word figuratively, okay?
Bill, let me ask you a question. I don't know if you heard me. You saw the President Trump's, I call it again, I don't know what the hell it was, but
State of the address.
State of the address. When Al Green got dismissed, I was saying just my personal thoughts that every one of those Democrats should have got their tails up and walked out behind him. How do you feel about that situation, Bill?
I hadn't thought about it. I think that they should have shown some unity. But what would it be like, really? Question is, what kind of picture would it have presented to the American public if there was just one party there? Now, I looked at the president's, one of the things that I told people about the president's speech was it looked like a Klan rally to me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Only thing
But
was
wait a minute, Bill, you ever see the Klan rally?
I didn't see them burning no crosses or have on their hoods. It was, and it created a stark contrast between the Democratic side and the cheering Klan side over there. I mean, you could, so it presented a contrast for the public, and the question is, would that contrast have been, would that same contrast have been visible if the seats were empty? So,
Yeah.
but I applauded what I thought it was BS what they did to Green, because Green ain't say nothing. They didn't kick that man Wilson from South Carolina out. He called the president a liar. You understand what I mean?
That's right.
But this is white folks for you.
Yep.
This is the way that this is America, like Don King would say. Only in America.
Only in America.
Well, you know what?
America.
To add on to what you're saying, Bill, the Democrats, after the election, even myself, have kind of humbled themselves. We're trying to figure this thing out. Why people are pointing at us saying, how do we lose the election? Was our voices enough to the public, to the voters, to bring in new voters? And we have been quiet. We haven't been using profanity. People saying where we at, what are we gonna do, and now it's kind of boiling up now. And whatever happens in this vote, which is going to take place between now and Friday, is going to be the start of something. Now, if the Democrats can, we all have said that we want to have a shutdown. I mean that came from us, you know. But really, if we don't get 6 votes, if they don't get 6 Democratic votes, it's gonna shut down. And it's a lot of people are going to be hurt. A lot of people are going to be affected by that.
Hey, Joe, and we shouldn't give them those 6 votes unless they give us something. Okay,
that's true.
And that's so true. And my thing is, like I said, with the going back to Green and Chess, and like I said, and I'm glad Colonel agreed. If we had walked out, if the Democrats had walked out, it would not have been a good look. Like I said, I agree, and I love what Green did. It was something that somebody needed to do. Somebody needed to make a point. It's like what I said before. Until that one white man steps up in that Congress and fights against everything that they're trying to do, which has happened forever, right? It was always that one white man that said, "Yeah, I know, I don't like them either, but this is not right." Until we get that one, that's the way it's going to be. But that one is coming. It's coming.
Well, they do have one guy that's saying he's not going to vote for that thing, but you have some of those entrenched guys from the Tea Party and from other ones that have never ever vote for any kind of bill like that.
My sisters and brothers, for me, worse is yet to come.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Before I was asked about November 3rd, what did I think about the election? And my answer was, you can't trust white women. That white women were going to cause Trump to win. And that probably goes back to years.
You know what? You got a point.
Of if you look at the 53 or 54% of white women voted for Trump, along with the 2/3 of white men, given the numbers of white voters in America, blacks couldn't swing it. 46% of the Latinos voted for Trump. But the real thing is, we have to understand what this country is that we live in.
Mm-hmm.
If the overwhelming majority of white people weren't racist, we wouldn't have all these problems in America.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And the thing is that for some reason they refuse to accept black people as human beings.
There you go.
And we as black people have not accepted that, and we have accepted individual solutions to a group problem. All the white man has to say to us is, Bill, you're not like the rest of them. You're a credit to your race.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll run after him and do what he wants.
Mm-hmm.
Bill, I don't hold nothing against black folks. My granddaddy had one who worked on his farm, old Hezekiah. He can outwork it at 10 minutes.
You got to be a Hezekiah.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. And
I got.
Hey, because you know
and Joseph, I know all about black people.
Right.
I had a black college roommate. So this is what we hear, and I'm saying, geez,
right.
until white folks accept the fact that they don't consider us to be human beings, and we as black people recognize that and ask them, say, are you saying I'm not a human being? The big thing is our individual solution to a group problem. A white man making Bill Jordan feel good, does nothing for the masses, the human condition of my relatives, my community, the black community.
Mm-hmm.
You know what?
I'm not free until all of us are free. And that's what Martin Luther King said. It's really, they didn't take, let me just finish, Joe.
Okay.
They didn't take our humanity away individually. They took it away as a group.
Mm-hmm.
We'll never get it back unless we get it back as a group.
Mm-hmm.
And that means that we have to come together.
Exactly.
That's right.
You know what? I was just thinking when you said that about the white women, you know, and that hit home because, like I said, I worked local elections all during the election cycle. I was first vice of the Democrat Party, and I saw it with my own eyes. They took the ballots, and in order to get the white women's vote, they had, and I saw this with my own eyes when they put the ballot in place. They had that amendment down there saying about abortion because abortion had just, that was supposed to be the key thing that brought the white women in, but they found a way to outsmart it by putting it on the same ballot with Donald Trump. So you voted for the amendment separate from from everything, but yet you still voting for Donald Trump. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Look, guys, it's what we've been, an hour and 30 minutes. I want to share something with you. We don't have to quit, but I want to share something with you while it's on my mind. I'm from a small town. It's called Franklinton, North Carolina. That was established back in 1839.
Wow.
I was born in 1956, and December the 27th, 1919, there was a black veteran that got into a confrontation at the theater in Franklinton, North Carolina. This guy owned the theater, from what I understand. And somehow or another, this white man ended up deceased. And Mr. Powell Green was the black veteran that got arrested for murdering this guy, so they say. The white folks in that town raided the jail, took this man out, hooked him to the back of a vehicle, drug him a half mile, shot him up with bullets, and hung him from a pine tree. And I mean, nobody was ever arrested for that. But the reason that they did that to this guy was because he was a veteran, black man, and they figured that, I mean, they was afraid of him because they figured he just had too much, like Bill was kind of, I guess, saying that, this guy had so much knowledge, I guess, coming out of World War. He was a World War I vet, and they were just afraid that he just had too much knowledge and was going to get into the government, I guess, and take over.
Like man with knowledge.
Yeah. And this was just something that was, I mean, it was just common day back then. And I'm quite sure that Franklinton, North Carolina wasn't the only place that it was going on, but they just, treat us like Bill said, like animal, we just subhuman, I think some of my half sisters and brothers, they're Greens, and I believe they probably were somewhere down the line related to this guy, Mr. Powell Green, that got murdered back then by the Klan or whoever these people were. But I just want to share that that in that town that I grew up in, I stayed there until I was in the second grade and moved to Baltimore because my mom and dad separated. But during my times as a young boy up to the second grade living in that town of Franklinton, North Carolina, there wasn't a day that went by I wasn't called a nigger. Or if you was walking down the sidewalk and you happened to come up to Mr. Charlie and Miss Betty as they were coming down the street, you step your ass out in the street or to the side to let Mr. Charlie and Miss Betty walk by. And some people, I guess because things like that I don't forget. I always tell my grandkids how I grew up. We didn't have the luxuries of life. And some of the things I tell them, like I told Bill, and me and Joe would, barefoot with no shoes and outdoor toilets and stuff like that. They say, Dad, nobody grew up that hard. They don't believe it.
Mm-mm.
And it's still people that's coming up like that today.
Yes.
And I don't know about the North, but some parts of the South.
Yeah.
I mean, right here in Fayetteville, North Carolina, where I'm living, I'm quite sure there's some people that's coming up the same way right now today. Black folks.
People don't have running water; they got well water, huh?
Yeah. Hey, but Chester, you and I talking.
Well, I'm gonna tell you guys something. I'm probably the only one here that went to a segregated school.
No, man.
No.
Y'all went to segregated school?
Yes.
Yeah, I did too.
Wow.
Kimberly?
No, I didn't.
No.
No, I
didn't.
Yeah, I went to segregated school up to the 8th grade.
I went up to the 6th grade.
I went all 12 years.
Okay. I went to the 10th grade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But Chester, what you said about the story you just told, I mean, if people really have to go back and learn the history of where they're from, like me being from North Carolina, and Chester, you and I talked about it, about they called it a riot of 1898. Wilmington, like everybody in North Carolina, they talk about Charlotte and all that. Charlotte's beautiful. Well, Wilmington really the capital, because Charlotte was nothing until later on in the years.
Right.
Wilmington was a place where everybody wanted to be. And in 1898, they had a riot. And they had a riot because Wilmington was run by minorities. The government in the city of Wilmington was minorities. And the story is told that a white woman came from Georgia and pretty much started the riot by saying, how y'all let them niggas run this town like this or whatever. And that's when all hell broke loose. Then you turn around, me as a kid, I got caught up in after Martin Luther King. After Martin Luther King got killed, and we had the riots of 1968. That was, and I'm pretty all you guys all heard of the Wilmington 10.
I have.
That was when Ben Chavis and all them guys came down. Well, when that was going on, I was still in Carolina. When that went down, that's when we moved north. But these are the things that Black people don't pass on to their kids. They don't pass on to their kids of where they came from.
That's right.
All we want to do is give them what we didn't have. Well, you still don't have it. Right. They don't get that. You still don't have it. To this day, you still don't have it.
Well, you know what?
You're never going to have it.
And you know what, Bob? We took we down here, when I say we, I say a nonprofit organization I started some years ago. We took a bus load of young kids to the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C., so that they can see that history. That place is, it's like you standing on, if you ever been there before, like just stand still for a minute, a moment, and you can feel, you can feel how you are standing on sacred ground. Some of those floors you go on, man, will take you all the way back to slavery days. You even get to go inside a slave house where they got it's just awesome. And like you said, to get the young kids out there so they can see some of this stuff, man, because they don't even, some stuff is coming about now that we didn't even know.
Yes.
Like Juneteenth Day. Now we're celebrating Juneteenth all over the nation. And I didn't even know nothing about no Juneteenth. I mean, I heard about that, Black Wall Street.
Right.
But I didn't know about Juneteenth.
I didn't know about Black Wall Street.
Yeah.
and that's totally my point.
But I didn't know it was, it was like it was.
And that's totally my point, because in Wilmington, where I'm from, if any of you guys ever look it up, whatever, it's a place called Seabreeze. Seabreeze was where it was the only black beach in the state of North Carolina. And that's where we talking stars from Samuel Davis Sr. to whatever came down there, and they partied and they had shows and all that. And this is the stuff that I didn't learn until I was in my 20s and 30s. My grandparents always told me about stuff, but to hear it and to read it is totally different. Like you said, man, that can't be true. But when you read it, yeah. I even used to go and talk to kids about it. Like, yo, this is where I'm from. This is what happened. I talk about 1898. I talk about 1968. And kids and how they get so inquisitive from it is a whole nother thing, because when you open eyes, it's a whole different thing. And that's why, and I've said it on here, when they were talking about taking the monuments and the statues and all that stuff down, no, don't take it down. Find somebody and put yours right next to it. Put it right next to it, whether it's Tucson or Overture or whoever. Put it right next to whoever you want to put it next to. So when those kids ask, who is that, from their white parents, they can say, oh, that's such and such. Well, who is that? Well, we don't need to talk about that. That kid is going to be inquisitive about, well, why you ain't tell me about that? I need to find out who that person is. I just learned right here in Delaware, I live in Smyrna, they have a bronze statue next to the post office of the first black mayor of the city of Smyrna. I didn't know Smyrna ever had a black mayor. And I walk by this every day. So one day I'm going to the post office. I said, who is this? So I pull it up and I look and I read his name. I come back and I look it up. The first black mayor in the town of Smyrna. This was.
And you mean they put a statue up of it?
Yeah. Mm. Yeah. And so these are the kind of things we need to get our people to understand, right? We honor what's the boy name with all the tattoos?
Which one?
The rapper with all the tattoos.
Yeah, which one?
And drink all the stuff to make him. What's his name?
Snoop Dogg.
Not Snoop. I don't even want to talk about Snoop. I don't even want to talk about Snoop.
Yeah.
But our kids, I look at the tattoos. I got kids in school right now, and I'm starting to tell the kids, I don't even blame them no more. I blame the parents. We got kids in school now, 15, 16 years old, they got more tats than Lil Wayne. That's his name. They got more tattoos than Lil Wayne.
Lil Weezy.
And so my thing is, what's the parents doing? Because if I had come home with a tattoo, that'd have been the last. I'd have been homeless.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because hey, you got to get out of here. Because you already showing me that you don't need me. You grown. You don't need to listen to me no more.
All right.
Bobby, that's the part of the reason why you got these kids taking guns to school and shooting up the school is because the parents are too busy doing their own thing. I did community service at this. We went over to this prison. What's the little Stevenson house? So it's all juvenile.
Oh yeah.
Right? And we went there a couple years ago, the fraternity brothers. We went there because we was invited to come there for Father's Day because the fathers of the kids that were locked down don't come to show up when they have these Father's Day type events. So we went there as a substitute, I guess, or a surrogate. And we're sitting there talking to these kids, and I'm talking to this one kid, little white kid. And I said, "You don't like school?" He said, "Yeah, I like school." I said, "What kind of grades do you get in school?" He said, "I get A's and B's." I said, "Why?" I said, "Well, why are you here?" Because the truant officer locked him up so many times, they put him in there, right?
Mm.
I said, "Your parents don't make you go?" He said, "No." I said, "You don't go to school and your parents don't?" He said, "No, they don't make me go to school, so I don't go."
Mm.
I said, "Well, what are they doing?" He said, "Well, they just get high all the time."
Wow.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Man, listen, I talked to a Spanish kid the other day. He's in my class. He's on my. So what I do is, I work with the struggling kids. So he got like his grade point average is less than 50. So I pull him up. I'm like, "Yo, man, look, man, you gotta do better, man." So we talking. I said, "Look, and do me a favor. When you want to smoke your weed, don't smoke it before you come to school. Smoke it the night before." The boy, he in the test, he can't even hold his eyes open. You know what I mean? I'm like, come on, man. And so when I tell him that, he look at me like, "Yeah, I know."
He gonna smoke it anyway. He ain't gonna stop smoking. You right.
I don't care if he stops smoking. I'm saying don't smoke it when you come to school.
Right.
Right.
Well, you know what? We have a lot of problems in this country, especially on the youth level. You know, and we don't have enough adequate. And we had talked about it earlier about services. We don't have enough to get in and diagnose some of the things that some of these kids are going through. Man, I work with them. I work with them on the level of. I was at Kitchell Job Corps for some years where bad kids was in there. I've been in the prison system where they were at. I took the word in there. But, you know, what I found out is we really can't save everybody.
No, you can't.
If you can take and get one of them and get through to one of them or two of them or maybe even three of them.
Yes.
You done what you could do. You know, if you go any farther, it's chaos. Mm-hmm. So that's the way I look at it, man. We got a lot of problems.
Oh no,
some of these kids can't even read, bro.
Joe, you 100%.
And the pandemic didn't help. You know what I mean? The pandemic didn't help. A lot of these kids can't read, they can't write, they can't even sign their name.
Listen, I tell the school, listen. They be like, "Well, what about, you know, it's a kid. I ain't gonna say his name on here, but it's a kid. Well, what about him?" I'm like, "Listen, y'all, that's your problem. I ain't gonna deal with it." Yeah. And the reason I don't is because here's a kid whose family members have been killed on the street and everything else, and you still doing the stuff that you do. School started at 8:05. The first class is at 8:20. He come through the main office, not a back door, not a side door, but he come through the front door in the main office And when he walked through, the weed smelled so strong that they spraying, trying to get rid of the smell. Now you get checked. Now you met. Why y'all checking my book bag? Whatever. Because you come in here smelling like you just smoked that coming to school. You know what I mean? Like, come on.
Yeah. Let me ask, hey Bill. Let me ask you, what do you think, man? All this stuff these guys are talking about. I mean, I got my ideas as to why some of this stuff happens with these young kids, but let me hear you being the elder.
I was flashing a picture back and forth of two people.
I saw. Yeah.
No, that's my great grandfather and grandmother.
Okay.
On my father's side, who were both slaves. My great grandfather, his name was Peach, because the slave master's wife thought he was pretty as a peach. So she named him Peach, which shows you his parents couldn't even name him. His wife, Elizabeth, had 23 children. We only can account for 13 of them, and we assume that the other 10 died. But we don't know. The master could have sold them off, because so you can't never find any of our kids. But his son, my grandfather, had 9 children, and he sent all 9 of them to college. All of them didn't finish, but he sent them to college. And then, so we have to take it upon ourselves to do what Bobby and all of us have said. We have to teach them about the past. We have to teach them, one, that no matter what happened to our ancestors, the white man was never able to break their spirit. Never broke the spirit. And we have to let them say, we need to teach them what my father taught me. My father said, boy, black people, and he was talking about descendants of Africans enslaved in the United, are the most remarkable people on the face of this earth, because no group of people has ever endured what they have endured and accomplished what they have endured. So you just look around at the people, the circle of the people who come to your podcast. Look how remarkable each and every person that comes on here every week with you and you yourself. And you look and you say, damn, all of the stuff that I went through, but look what I was able to achieve. How did I achieve it? You achieved it because your ancestors lived inside of you. Your ancestors, eternal life is achieved. Each and every one of y'all remembers the good of your ancestors. And the one thing that all of us need to remember is they never broke our spirit. Never broke it. And it shows up in church. When you go to church and you just hear the songs that are sung. And how our people, through all that misery, could sing joyous songs and go out and endure. And like Bobby said about, you said about Franklin Town, the man getting lynched. I thought about, I've been to the museum in Washington, D.C., but it didn't match for Montgomery, Alabama. Because when you walk down there and you see what our ancestors endured, you leave and ask yourself, how can I quit? How can I let anybody in my community fail? And we have to remember that back in the day when I was growing up, we worked as a community when they forced us all to live together.
Yeah.
Right.
If somebody, I was just talking about on a podcast on Sunday. Sister, need somebody to care for their baby because they had a job to go to or they had to go to work. They didn't have the money to pay the babysitter. Somebody would take care of that baby.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I'm a product of that.
And I can remember my mother doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, if 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 you had if the girls needed their hair fixed for May Day or graduation or prom, they ain't had no money to go to the hairdresser. Come over to Ma Jordan's house. She'll fix your hair.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She'll press and curl your hair for you for free. You ain't got to do nothing. Your birthday comes, somebody make a cake for you.
Right.
You need something, somebody in the neighborhood gives it. These are things of our ancestors that we can't forget. Somebody get out of jail. We didn't reject them. You a criminal. We took them back in the community because we knew how black folks were locked up for sneezing back in them days.
Yes, indeed.
Right.
So we took them back in the community. I hear all this retake. And we tried to save, a friend of mine who spent some time in jail. I asked him what happened when he went to jail. He said he was safe because a brother from our neighborhood who everybody thought was terrible, had taken over the jail and he made it comfortable. His name was going to jail. And me and the brother sit down and laugh about that. I said, yeah. I said, a lot of people don't understand that. When I went to service, I was down at Lackland and some Puerto Ricans got mad at me about something. It was some brothers from DC that I knew.
Mm.
And they came together. We could cooperate together. We would protect each other. And we shouldn't lose that. That comes from the days when we were all forced to live together. We couldn't make any difference.
Mm-hmm.
And we tried to save everybody. Even though we might fail, that didn't mean we didn't try.
Right.
So
that's like that, there you go. That's like Joe said. You're not gonna save everybody.
Well,
but if you can save one or two, because if you save one or two, they gonna save one or two, and then another one they save one or two, and it's gonna be all right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me add a little bit to that, Bobby. I say you try to help everybody.
Oh no, you try to help everybody, but you're only gonna save a few.
I can remember, man. Sometimes you have to count your losses.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
And it's very sad when you do.
Oh yeah, and that's what, like, going back to the school. That's what I'm saying is, like, I want to help every one of them. Some of them, it just ain't no help.
You know, it's like that old saying they say, you can lead a horse.
You gotta wash your hands.
You can lead a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink.
You know what I mean? Because you
let me
get to that point.
Let me share a little story with you that blows me away. My oldest brother be 84 in May, and he's still working with kids. He lives in the danger zone. I go to the apartment. He left the house he lived in to move into this apartment in the danger zone. I go over there. I'm out of there before the sun sets. It's a danger zone, man. Hey, you got a concealed carry permit? Walk me to my car. We don't know when the gunfire might start. He had these kids with him. He took them on some trip. And he saw somebody that was on the way. Somebody was begging for some money, and he gave them some money. And he said a little girl who had never done anything that was mentionable, or done anything, or didn't seem like she was on the right path. She took her last quarter and gave it to that same person that my brother gave the money to.
Mm.
And I said, wow, that's powerful. I said, first of all, that shows that sometimes when we think that people are not responding to what we have demonstrated to them,
Mm-hmm.
it has impact.
Mm-hmm.
I said, and I told him, I said, I hope you hug that little girl and thank God for her, because she didn't have much, but she gave all, and she knew that it was important to be charitable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
These little things that I think about all the time, it's like little drops of water, little grains of sand,
Yep.
the
Yep.
mighty ocean and the bountiful land. And the little moments, humble though they be, make the mighty oceans of eternity. So for me, I'm so proud, overjoyed with Bobby, overjoyed with Joe, overjoyed with Ron, overjoyed with you,
Mm-hmm.
because you do the best you can.
Yeah.
Understanding each of us doing the best we can is a positive thing in and of itself.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the other thing I would say is something my father taught me. Don't charge admission for what you do.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Food
And,
for the soul.
and that's the one thing I tell the kids. I said, I'm not here because I have to be. I'm here because I want to be.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was listening to what you said, Chester. I grew up in that with that same piece. I grew up over there in Patton Circle,
Mm-hmm.
and I said it the last time. In Patton Circle was where all the Vietnam vets. I wish Mac was still here. He could probably tell you the same thing. When in Vietnam, when all the vets came back, they were given loans to buy a house, and most of them went out and bought them a brick house, and that's how Patton Circle was built. Everybody around there was vets, mostly vets. There was majority vets living in those houses.
Yeah.
The white people did not like it. They were haters back then, and they haters right now.
Mm-hmm.
But my uncle had one a little farther down from Patton Circle, and his house was surrounded by the Klan and a cross. I could see the cross every time I shut my eyes and laugh. If I want to bring that moment up, I could see when they burnt that cross in the front yard.
Wow.
And my uncle said, "Y'all go get in the closet. I'm finna go get my gun."
Mm.
He put us
Yeah.
in the closet for safety, and he went out there and took a few shots, and they rolled off.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
that was the type of stuff that I saw as a young child going into the military in the 70s.
Mm.
And I
Yeah.
saw that, and it stayed with me, up until the day. I know how treacherous they can be.
Yeah.
I know how treacherous these white people can be, man.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. He's still out there, man.
Yeah.
Social change won't come to America unless it comes from our community.
Mm.
And we won't be able to make that social change if we forget that the spirit of our ancestors is alive in each and every one.
Yeah.
Yep.
What broke our spirit?
Yeah.
Did they break our spirit in transportation squadron?
No, sir. No,
No.
sir.
No.
They can't ever break our spirit. No.
But we got to keep teaching the past, man. I mean, I mean, with the kids they walk around today, man, it's just so much with technology that's going on. I got let's see, 12-year-old and I think he's an 8-year-old grandson and a 15-year-old, and they have these. Everybody's got a device. I don't know what the hell they use them for. I'm serious. I mean, they come to me and ask a question, and I say, "Look, man, are you just testing me, or I mean, they got this
Yeah.
thing in their hand. Are you just testing me, or you really want me to? I mean, you don't know the answer." I said, "Look, man, if I had that thing you got in your hand right there, if I'd have had that,
I'd be a rock.
Man, I'd be damn Elon Musk. Musk money right now.
Yes. Hey, Chester, man, I get
What
it.
are you doing with that thing, man? Anything you want to know.
Get it
Right
every
in the palm
day.
of your hand.
Yeah.
How you spell this? You can look up everything else on that phone.
That's what I'm saying. They don't even have to use their head no more.
Yeah, you can talk to everybody you want to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't look up a word on that phone. You got a computer. You got two computers. You got the one the school give you, and you got the one your parents brought for you. And you ask me how to spell a word.
Right. Right. Bobby, look.
And me being who I am, I go ahead and spell it.
Yeah, okay.
They don't even have to use their head no more.
And don't and I think I said this on here before too. Don't ask them the time. Because if it's a clock with numbers on it and it ain't digital,
they lost.
It's over, baby.
Can't count money.
What?
Can't count no money, man.
They know how to spend it, but they can't count it.
Yeah.
Don't I tell you the story about I went into the dollar store before it became the $1.25 store. I go in the dollar store and the girl at the register. So I'm in Jersey, so you got to pay taxes. So my thing came to like $3.18.
Uh-oh, you didn't do that.
So
too.
I give her $5 and I give her 18 cents.
Uh-oh.
Give me 12 cents back. So I'm standing there with my hand like this. I said, what? I said, what's this for? She said, oh, that's your change. I said, no, I'm supposed to get $2. She said, huh? So I said, yes. I gave you $5.18.
Mm-hmm.
Now she goes back in the register and she does this.
Mm.
Listen, I didn't care what change she gave me. I was done.
Yeah.
She had to give me a penny back. I'd have just walked out, took my stuff and walked out because I'm like, I don't believe this.
Yeah.
But you know what was sitting beside her? This.
Yeah.
Made sure.
Yeah.
And trying to give me my change while she looking at the phone.
Yeah.
You know, but listen, man, it's terrible, man. And it's crazy because, and like I said, I tell the kids now, I don't even blame y'all no more. I blame your parents.
Mm-hmm.
The parents, they're texting the kids while they're in school. You know where they at. They're texting them. They're calling them while they're in school. You know where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Mr. Jones, this is my mom. Can I take this in the hall? What?
All right.
Are you serious right now? No, sit down.
Well, you know what? Have you heard, Bobby, that in North Carolina they're trying to ban the use of cell phones from K through 12?
And they should.
But the thing about it is,
the parents are fighting it.
Yeah. So
I like to ask.
Got that butt that goes along with it.
I like to ask the majority of them, how many of y'all had a phone when y'all was in school?
Mm.
How did your parents get in touch with
parents? They didn't have that.
How did you get in touch with your parents? You had to go down to the office and ask if you could make a phone call.
Mm-hmm.
And if it wasn't important enough, they told you no.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right.
And the parent, oh no, what if something happens at the school?
Mm.
And if something happened to school, to get in touch with you.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's just like the books in the library. Your daddy don't want, you know, he's a lawyer, he's a businessman, whatever. But he don't want this certain book in the library because it's got the word gay in it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I asked your daddy, how many books in the library did you read when you was in high school? If it was 1,800 books in the school, damn it, you probably took 10 of them out in 4 years. In 4 years, because the Dewey Decimal System, you ain't even want to go in there to look for the book.
Yeah.
But you became a lawyer. You became a businessman. And them same books were in the school.
Pretty much.
We got a problem.
It's and the bulk of it, like I said, it's not the kids, it's the parents. The parents are like I know we talked about black folks picking cotton. The parents of cotton, they soft. Because I tell my grandkids every day, I don't want to hear it. If you're not doing the best, we got a problem. We got a problem.
Bobby, I think both you and Ron have talked about the importance of parents in the education of the children. And I think one of the things that helped me in educating my children was what my father told me. And my father and mother told me that you have to send your children to school prepared to learn, and you have to be prepared to supplement the learning that they get in school.
Yes.
That schools teach to the minimum. I mean, to the middle. So if your child is on either side of the curve, whether he's a little bit slower or a little bit faster, that you have to supplement those things.
Yes.
And that helped me tremendously.
Last week, so I deal with a lot of kids with stuff that we didn't have in our school, with 504s and IEPs and all that. So I deal with a lot of those kids. So I go to the counselor because I got this one kid. I'm looking him up, and I instantly get angry because if you can get on that phone and make it do things that your parents don't know what you're doing, then you can learn what's in that book. So I go to the counselor and I said, listen, I want you to do me a favor. Because when this one kid, his parents is getting ready to come to the school and they're going to have a talk about him. So I said, listen, when his parents come here, you mentioned Byron Pitts to him. She said, Byron Pitts, who's that? I said, Byron Pitts is on 60 Minutes now. I said, but when he was a kid in Baltimore, they told him he couldn't read, right? He stuttered and all this stuff. I said, the boy's a Rhodes Scholar. He wrote a book about himself. And I said, the way he learned is what you just said, Colonel, about, he said he had church, he had his family, and he had people around him that helped him learn, right? And I said, this is the stuff that you need to be telling these parents. I don't give a damn if they get mad at you, the hell with them. You're the counselor and you're trying to give them information to help their kid. She said, Mr. Jones, I'm gonna do that. I said, listen, I'm not saying that because I care, not because I want something different. And she said, Mr. Jones, and ever since that day, she been touched. She tells people about it. But I'm like, these kids, the first thing that you look at their 504 plan, and the first thing it says is slow learner. What the hell is a slow learner? There ain't such thing as a damn slow learner. You just don't. And if the parents are saying that my child is a slow learner, then the parents got a damn issue. Because my child ain't gonna be no slow learner. They may not get it the first time, but that don't make them a slow learner. That's just saying they need to get it again. They need to hear it again. Maybe you need to put it to them a different way. Now, that's the way I got it in school, because I may not have understood this But then you go to teacher, I don't understand what you said. So they give it to you another way.
Let me throw something at you to chew on. And I talk about this with a lady who's an educator in the International Black Summit. One of the things that happens is we talk about being teachers. And I learned this, or I adopted this when I was an instructor. I didn't call myself instructor. When I was training guys to be pilot, I didn't call myself instructor. I called myself a human resource developer. And so I think that that's what we need to language about getting kids. That we don't teach them. We are developing a human resource. And whatever it takes to develop that resource, we have to be prepared to do. A guy told me there's no bad students, only bad instructors. I don't know if I agree with him 100%. I think it's very important to realize that you are given a human resource and it's up to you to develop it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that was just something I'd throw out. Y'all will probably hit me with about that later, but just on it. We don't teach, we develop human resources.
Yeah.
I'm tossing it out tomorrow. I'm just letting you know, Colonel. I'm tossing that out. I'm tossing that out there to him tomorrow.
It'll stole that, huh?
Yeah, buddy. Hey, that one going in the gold box.
Ron, you got anything else, man?
Nah, I'm
what?
That's Ron. He got anything? You got anything you wanna?
No, I mean you guys always make good points, man, and the fact that we all recognize that there's a need for history in our community because our people, our children, some of our children think that these things happened so long ago, and they talked about it in school maybe. They don't think that it's still alive today.
Right.
They don't understand. They don't comprehend these things when confronted with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, education has always been a crap game. It's a shell game. Oh, if you'd have had your degree. See, at one time in this country, they let us to believe that if you didn't have a college degree, you couldn't be successful. Right. Highly successful. That's not true. You could be a plumber, you could be an electrician, you could be a lot of things.
Right.
Success is measured on how you pick yourself up from your previous situation to your current situation. That's success, and it don't have no monetary. It's not always monetary.
Right.
Because some people don't, like Bobby was talking about the kids at school. The parents think that the school's job is to educate the kid, and they don't have, their job is to feed them, maybe, but they don't spend no time with that kid. They don't, I can remember, I never had anybody, I was the first one in my family, immediate family, to get a college degree. Now, I had a brother that's a year older than me. He was in college, but he hadn't gotten his degree. So, I tell kids, when we do things, I tell kids that I went to college and I paid for every penny of the college myself. Every penny. And I said, I can't even tell you, besides, the BEOG and the Pell Grant came after, but I said, I had some student loans. I said, but I can't tell you how I made it through. I said, I can tell you some of the corrections I had to make because I was academic probation, because I thought college was a game.
Yeah, I did too.
And we chased women. That's what I thought the game was. Because when I went to Morgan, I looked in the Barron's book of colleges, right? And the thing that caught my eye was that Morgan's male to female ratio was 16-1. I said, shit, I can strike out 15 times and still get lucky. Which happened, you know. But I said the experience, you know, I said I sat out, I went back, I had to apply again. But when I went back, I had a different mindset. Because when I sat out, I was working 2 jobs on Long Island. I was working for the school district during the day as a custodian. I was the dude at the elementary school that emptied the trash out after lunch. Okay, yeah, I made some money, you know, a few dollars. But what I told him was, I said, I met some people that helped me change. I said, I had a mentor. He's from Cambridge, Easton. He was a Morgan alum. He was president of the Alumni Association at the time. He was a self-made millionaire by the time he was 35. He went to college on the basketball scholarship. He was about 6'7" at that time. And he hurt his back. So he went to college with Italian sports car, Avanti. You ever heard of Avanti?
Mm-hmm.
He had one of those as a college freshman. So his parents was doing pretty decent. And but I saw how he was grinding, you know, and he taught me some things, you know, like he had all the money in the world, but that dude, we would be in a row house in Baltimore at 2-3 o'clock in the morning with sandpaper, sanding the wood floors down so he could rent the apartment. Now they got machines nowadays, right? It was being him. But he took care of my work study, and then someone else, I had a girlfriend, introduced me to a soror, and she was in charge of what they call cooperative education. So I ended up signing up for co-op, and then I got interviewed for different positions. One thing I didn't know at the time was that all your tech schools in the United States, Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, whatever tech it is, MIT, they all have 5-year programs. So you have to do a year. It's an internship, but back then they was calling them co-ops, cooperative education. So somehow or another, I got the interview and I started working for NASA in Greenbelt, Maryland. So I'm working with NASA. I'm working with these engineers. I was a contracting person, these scientists, and I'm listening to these cats. I'm going to the symposium. I couldn't even spell symposium before that. So I'm sitting there listening about Earth and science and all these things, but it was, my life was changing. I was becoming more, you know, responsible for myself. You know what I mean? So then I decided, I said, well, these cats, I'm just as smart as these dudes. Shit. You know what I mean? So I joke around. Bobby would tell you, I said, when I was a kid and coming up through school and all that, I said, I always knew I wasn't labor. I was management. I ain't never wanted to be labor. You know what I mean?
Right.
But by going to school and going through the trials and tribulations, because when I was in Baltimore, it wasn't no call home and get no money. Shit, I met my dad when I was 12. I lived with my mom in New Orleans, and I lived with my dad on Long Island. I couldn't wait to get out of his house, man. I graduated on Friday. I had a room on Saturday.
I hear you.
Because that was a situation that, you know, he was living with this woman, and she was miserable because he was running the street. You know, so she was taking it out on me and my 2 brothers. And I said, look, I ain't signed up for this. You know, but I tell people, you never know. You're going to meet somebody, and that somebody's going to help you change your life. And I said, you got to be receptive to conversation. You may have a conversation with an older person and then we talk about this and that, but there's something in that conversation that they want you to receive. That's why they're talking to you. They're going to walk by you. But, you know, I tell them, I say, so I tell people, they say, yeah, I used to work at NASA. It's like, wow, you used to work at NASA? Oh, you really smart. I was like, no. You know, no. That's survival. I ended up in the Air Force because of survival, because I was supposed to get a full-time job at NASA. Reagan did the same thing Trump is doing now with probationary status and LWOP back then, leave without pay. We all got wiped off the books.
Hey, Ron, I got I got my training too from older cat, man. And it was some words that they used to say to me all the time. And it went something like this. The pen is mightier than the sword. I ain't gonna say who said it, but they on this podcast right now. And I used to hear that. I used to hear that so damn much, right? Look, it's embedded in me. Hey, Bob. This is what he do to me all the time. Hey, Bob. The pen is mine.
Pen on your ass.
Hey, Bobby.
Hey, listen. Hey.
And that was true too, wasn't it? But I always tell cats
in certain situations, man.
I said my experience with Colonel Jordan. I said, and I told him the story. I said, yeah, he introduced me to these graduate level workbook called the GMAT and the GRE and all of that stuff. So I said I had to read the book at lunchtime, and then he and I had a conversation about what was in the book, right? So I said, I wasn't that type of dude. I wouldn't think about nobody's graduates. Hell, I just got out of Morgan. You know what I mean? And I said, so I went to take the admissions exam for the graduate school. And I go back and they said, so they said, yeah, we got your schedule set up. They didn't even tell me what my score was. Right? I was like, damn, I wanted to know what the score was. They said, believe me, you don't have to worry about it. You know what I mean? But that was because I was receptive to something different. I thought it was difficult, but it was something that I had to go through to get where I was going. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing that I've learned in life is you're going to go through some things to get where you got to go or where you want to go.
Yeah.
And at the time, it's a bit of taste, but, if you can work your way through it and you look back on it, because I always tell people some of the best friends I had in college lived in row houses in Baltimore, right? I lived in this row house. The guy I told you was my mentor. He let me live in the row house. And as we became friends, I didn't have to pay rent anymore. I'm working with him at 2:00 in the morning. And in the summer, I could be shooting basketball. I'm looking at the boys at the park, and I got joint compound all over me from doing stucco. You know what I mean?
But you learned something from that, right?
Yeah, he started taking. I didn't have to pay, and I told him. I said, "Well, what about my brother?" Because I always looked out for my brother. My brother ended up as a not a corrections, but a counselor at Rikers Island on Long Island, right in Queens. He got that job because when we were in Baltimore, I had a friend from Philadelphia that was working in a halfway pre-release house, right? I used to go there to wash my clothes at night when the inmates went to bed, right? So me and him rapping, he said, yo, man, they about to let this dude go. You want a job? I was like, nah, man, I don't think I want to do this kind of shit. I said, but my brother needs a job. And from that day, this was in the early 80s. My brother started working there, and that's how he ended up getting his pension.
I tell you, man, I'll say this. The best thing that happened to me as a young man was Dover Air Force Base. I can't say where I would have been or what I would have been doing if I hadn't went to Dover and Cat, Chester, Colonel, Chief Washington, Chief Moore, Chief Brown, Savage, Johnson. I don't know where I would have been because I was hard-headed. I was a knucklehead. You know what I mean? I don't know where I would have been. But like you said, Ron, when you put in a set and you see other people, and I take it back to middle school. And in middle school, I had a vice principal. Never forget him. His name was Mr. Moffitt. Moffitt was the sharpest dude I ever seen in my life. Mugger coming to school, he got his gaiters on. You know what I mean? He pressed every day. Got his Zanzibar belts on, everything, right? I said, dang, like every day, every day I see I light up. I'm gonna be that cat one day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I got to the knuckleheads. Went to college, all that, want to chase the girls, all that. But when I came to Dover Air Force Base, all of that stuff recycled because I had people that wanted to see me at my best.
Mm-hmm.
And that changed my life.
Yeah, you hadn't hardened up yet either, you know, so we were still able to, you know, to mold you. Like, and it's and it's like when the colonel came, he came in, and you know, I should see him, man, how he walked, how he carried himself, you know, the model, man. That's the way it's a rotation,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
So
Let me, when I was 18, 3 days after I was 18, I went to the service in the Air Force because I hadn't signed up for college. I didn't have a job. And if I had a job and lived at home, I was going to have to pay rent. If not, I had to go in the military. And I saw what my father did to my oldest brother. When my oldest brother tried to talk stuff to my father about he wasn't going to leave, my father told him he'd break his neck in the service the next 3 days. So I knew I'd already been in a fight with my father, lost miserably, and it lost miserably. So I was 18. I knew I better start stepping.
You say you lost miserably, huh?
Oh man, yeah, I got a few licks in early, but after that, I thought he was breaking my bones, man. Hooking me to the head and shoulders, throwing me through a window. My mother said he was gonna kill me. That's the only thing that stopped me. She begged him, "Don't kill the boy." I said, "Oh Lord." I mean, this is like me jumping on a grizzly bear, man. I must have lost my mind, you know.
Yeah.
I went into the service and I didn't do too well in the service because enlisted because I was a smart aleck. I wasn't no real gangster from DC. Don't get me wrong, because man, they had brothers. I wasn't like that. My father wouldn't allow me to be that. But I wasn't one of those kids that ran from everybody. You understand what I mean? You know, and you know to associate with people who. But I got in the service and I started running my mouth. This dude said I was dumb. I told him I was smarter than he was. We took the college level GED test to see who was the smartest. And I passed with enough credits to go to the University of Maryland, but there was a trick. You know, the University of Maryland, they had what they call a global campus now.
Yeah.
It was a university college back then. So I started taking courses. I found out if you got a B, they would pay 75% of the cost. If you got an A, they would pay 100%. So I started taking these courses, man, and I found I was passing. And I had thought I was a good amateur boxer. I went to fight in the European Championship, and the dude beat me like I was a red-headed stepchild. So I figured my fortunes must be elsewhere. I didn't get beat that bad. But one of the guys who I looked up to, a mentor from Cleveland, who had been to college, he told me to go to college. He said, they wanted me to stay in Europe and fight, but he said, no, he said, little brother, you need to go back to the States and go to college. So I came back to the States and signed up to go to Howard University. But I'll tell you the truth. I got a discharge from the service with 2 stripes and 41 months in grade. So y'all know I wasn't that good.
41 months in grade.
Yeah, man, it was terrible. They had me. The white boys got 3 stripes, but they couldn't pass the 5 level in this new career field they were in. They had me training the white boys so they could keep their 3rd stripe. And back in those days, they didn't have no WAPS testing or nothing like that. It was if they didn't put your name in, you didn't. Because I was on the island of Crete, they sent down 32 stripes. It wasn't but 30 people eligible. And two didn't get promoted. Didn't even get. They had to send back 4 stripes.
Damn.
It was me and another brother from DC. 2 Negroes from DC. And what hurt me the most was my friend, supposed to be my friend, Carl Jones from LA. We got off work, worked the mid shift, and got off at 7 o'clock in the morning, go to breakfast. And he had his 3rd stripe. And I was doing what I normally do when I was walking to the chow hall, and he hollers out, "Ammon Jordan, you're making too much noise. And if you don't quiet down, I'm gonna have to discipline you." This nigga said this to me, man. Excuse me for using that language, but this brother said that to me. I was hurt. What could I do? He was an airman 1st class. I was an airman 2nd class. I guess if they could have stamped on my career, permanent airman 2nd class, they would have done that. I got back to the States and they still wouldn't promote me. I'd won a little bit of money gambling, so I bought myself a car and was driving on base. If you live within 12 miles of the base, you could live at home with your parents. So they tried to put me on CQ. I had my car, man. I had a brand new Mercury S22 2-door sport car with red bucket seats. First sergeant called me in the office. Ammon Jordan, is your car registered on base? Now, a 2-striper to get a car registered on base back in those days, you had to insure you couldn't get a decal unless you had your insurance policy. You had to show the insurance policy and show it was in effect. I told him, I said, "Sarge, I got a sticker, man." "Yeah, my car is registered." So then he asked me, "Where did you get the money to get that car?" That triggered me. I was triggered. I said, "Sarge, am I under Article 32 investigation?" He said, "No." I said, "Have you received any letters of indebtedness on me?" He said, "No." I said, "Well, it ain't none of your damn business how I got this car." And I walked out of the office. And when Bobby Jones was feeling sad, he said, I didn't know you did that, Bob." I walked out of the office and he said he was gonna hang me if it was the last thing he did. I pulled KP at Andrews Air Force Base 65 times in 8 months.
65.
No KP briefing, man. When I go to that sergeant, laugh, mess up. "Jordan, you back here again? You know what to do."
You know where the knob's at.
And go on to the garbage rack. You know what to do. And anytime it snowed at Andrews, the first name on the list was William Jordan, Airman 1st Class W.A. Jordan. And that's the truth of my enlisted career. "Well, man, you got commissioned. You must have had." Man, I was a failure. I was a total failure. And I
Can relate.
2 stripes.
Sound like you wasn't a failure. You was a victim, man.
Yeah.
You was a victim of racism. Sound like to me. I mean, wasn't it? Wasn't that what it was? I mean, if holding it like that.
Well, I mean, I didn't tell you the thing that I did on Crete. This sergeant got mad at me. Because I wouldn't record something I was supposed to be doing. So he sent me out to a direction finding shack, which is about 5 miles from the base. And when the guy relieved, he kept himself occupied by catching flies and pulling their wings off. So you have a wingless fly in this thing, you go there and all the flies, they put me out there, and the sergeant said he was going to catch me sleeping. I'm going to hang that. So they put me out there armed with the M1 carbine. What happened was, the brother who ran the real communications now, I told him, I said, if the sergeant says he's coming out here, let me know. Because he said he was going to catch me sleeping. So the brother told me he was coming out there. So I got my M1, got to the door. I stood right at the door with that M1 pole. And I knew the sergeant was going to try to open it up. He thought I'd be leaning against the door because it's a small little thing called a direction finding shack. And if he opened it up and I fell out the door, he was going to laugh and say I was sleeping on the job and everything like that. But when he opened up the door and stuck in his head, I stuck that M1 right on this thing. Emma Jordan wasn't out there for 30 more minutes. They never let me near a gun after that.
Damn.
You can't get no more weapons.
Yeah, buddy.
Man, they put me on burn detail once. Me and this dude named Lofty McDonald from New York City. We had 600 bags of classified to burn in a day. We had this thing where you can only put 3 bags, supposed to put 3 bags in. Lofty looked at me, I looked at him, I said, man, we'll be here for a week. He said, let's stuff it. Man, we stuffed so many bags in this burn furnace that the thing got hot and it had like a grate on the top that got so hot it expanded and blew off. And all of these ashes were floating all over the island of Crete. The wing commander, they sent the biggest black sergeant in the place out there to stop us. Look what you've done. And I still remember when Captain Sailor made me jump down in this ditch with all these burned ashes. Man, I had ash up to my neck all through. Because he saw one piece of paper that had white, if it was black, you didn't have to get it. But it's white, man, I had to jump down there and get it. They never let me on burn detail. So when I was on Crete, I tell you, I was a young raw Negro off of the streets of DC. But I know I couldn't fail because if I went home and failed, man, my father said, I ain't got no place for you here. We don't allow failures around here, son. You got to. But this is, now y'all know the unwritten history of Bill Clinton.
Joe, you want to wrap it up?
Man, y'all have said so much, man. I can relate to a whole lot of that stuff y'all talking about, man. Going all the way back in my military career, and who were some of the role models. My uncle was a drill sergeant, and he did 3 tours of duty in Vietnam, and I grew up idolizing this guy, man. Each summer he would come and get me and take me to Fort Dix, New Jersey, and most of my cousins all went into the Army. We just had a family history of Army, and by his influences, a lot of his influences and stuff, he went to Vietnam, and that's why a lot of times I talk a lot about mental illness, man, because mental illness played a key role in my life. I think I suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder and from childhood trauma all the way back to when I was a young kid and going into the military. And even when I played a lot of football took me away from a lot of that stuff. I played all Army football. I had a lot of opportunities too, missed opportunities. And my career in the military wasn't as good as I wanted it to be because I went in with expectations of staying in the military. I was going to do a career. But after 8 years, it was time for me to go. Somebody was going to get hurt, or I was going to get hurt. I had to stand before the man too. I was up on the DMZ, and a guy woke me up. Well, Sergeant E5 woke me up at the time. I think I was just a regular specialist, but I had duty, and at a certain time he woke me up, and I jumped him. And the only thing that kind of saved me was the and I think this is just in my mind, the fact that I was in the 1st Cavalry Division at the time, and I had that, and the 1st Cavalry was real big back in them days as far as Vietnam was concerned. And when I stepped in there, I was strapped, had my uniform on, and they dismissed all the charges. But that was a scary event right there in my military career. But you know, even up to now, I look at it, and I was listening to that Bobby talking about these kids, man. I've been around them. I know how they operate. I know some of them is by no fault of their own. They suffer from a lot of this stuff. This undiagnosed mental illness is what some of these kids suffer with. And you know what, you can't really break that mold. You know, if they want it, you will see some of them. They'll come to you and they'll ask for help. But a lot of them, they don't even know they suffer from this stuff, man. You know, and to take themselves out of it, they do like what we used to call back in the military. They self-medicate. You know, either with drugs, alcohol, or one thing or the other, and that's what helped me along the way, and it almost killed me. You know, from that, because you know, Chester, back when we were coming up in this town, every inch of this town had a liquor house.
Yep, every corner. Well, 2, 3
that I was raised with had a liquor house in the backyard.
Yeah,
I mean, when you come on Sunday morning, them guys before they even go to church, they knocking on the door. Let me get a shot. You know, and they give you the little $1. You take the shot. They go on and get ready for church. You know, that was just a normal thing that was happening. You know, and you jumping in and out of clubs, rows of clubs. You 15, 16 years old. You seeing this. You seeing with the gays, and you know, you seeing all this stuff when you growing up, man. And it kind of, it just molds you until, you know, you have seen this stuff and it just stays with you, you know. And so, but you know what? I look at today and I look back on my career in the Army and everything, and it's all about now trying to help, you know, as Bill was saying earlier, trying to help these kids see, you know, that there's a better way. You don't have to go down the same road that I went down. You know, you could choose, and you have a choice.
Yes,
you got a choice. You know, and you can choose to you can choose to stay where you at, or you can try to do better. I mean, one step at a time. You don't have to, you know, you know, Rome wasn't built overnight.
Nope.
The ark wasn't built overnight. It took time for the ark to be built. So, you know, so that's what I'm doing today. Even up to the day, right now in my retirement, I'm still out there grinding, hoping and praying for some of these kids that they will catch on to this thing, man. But because that's what's happening now. They turn down all the guardrails that African American kids had in place that would help them with level the playing field. Level the playing field. Because that's what it's about, leveling the playing field so that they can get the opportunity to go to college. You know, and they can get the opportunity to do things, to own their own business. Those are some of the positive aspects of things that are being torn down now. They're being torn down, bro. Because this guy now, I don't know if his parents, Donald Trump, I don't know if his parents was a daggone Klansman or white nationalist or what. But I know one thing: everything he touching has something to DI and all of that. Equal opportunity, you know, in employment. You know, they trying to tear down the stuff for veterans. You know, and who's there to say that they might not even try to pull our check? You know, like somebody was saying, Mac was saying, "Hey, look, I hope they don't mess with our check." You know what I mean? But these guys, they're leaving no stone unturned. They're going after everything. They're going after
the one thing they can't do with that is go and pick and choose who check they're gonna pick. Because soon
no, not individually.
Hey, soon as they mess with Bubba check, because Bubba was the one that was out there. He was the sniper. Right? And it's a whole lot of Bubbas. It ain't enough Secret Service to save his ass from Bubba.
Yeah.
And this Bubba ain't gonna miss.
Hey, no Bubba.
Bubba was the one scaling that wall during the insurrection too.
Say no Bubba. He ain't gonna miss no Bubba.
Right. That's right.
So they didn't give everybody from J6 full pardons.
No, not all of them.
They didn't realize they didn't get a full pardon. So there's some things that they still can be sent back to jail for.
Even
some of them already back in jail.
Ron, if you look at it, he hasn't been out this country yet.
He's scared.
I don't think he can. He can't go.
Listen, well, other countries they got laws against felons and all of that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah.
He can't even get a visa.
Technically, his ass can't go. Can't go anywhere.
And you
damn shame, man. I tell you,
that's the kind of thing we got in the White House.
Yeah.
Sex offender as president.
Yeah.
I
ain't gonna hold y'all up, man. Y'all been talking 3 hours, man. It's gonna take me a week. It's gonna take me a week to edit this thing,
Hey, man, listen.
And Bobby, look, your young lady that came in, I know she bounced off, but screen her, man, and tell her.
Yeah, so
just tell her, man. She can talk about anything, man, and then she can bounce. She just want to bring, something to us from the female community that, she might want us to speak on or whatever, man, and get on off,
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like I said, I'm done, man. I don't want to hold y'all no longer.
Hey, listen, man. I enjoy.
I do too, always.
Each and every meeting, man. I enjoy it. I learn stuff.
Don't y'all tell everybody about what I did when I was enlisted now.
Oh no,
you put it out there, man. It's
out there, Chester.
How much are you gonna give me to hold on to that? It's just a click of the mouse so I can wipe it off,
We're gonna treat that like Vegas.
Yeah.
Well, what can they do to you now, anyway?
Yeah, right. All right, man. Well, look, man, I'm gonna let y'all go, man. I appreciate y'all coming, hanging out with me on the edge, okay? Y'all stay safe, man. See y'all in a couple of weeks.